In this video, I shall be discussing the guidelines on steroid-resistant nephrotic syndrome. I have in, incorporated both the latest guidelines, the Indian Pediatric Nephrology Association 2021 and Kidney Disease Improving Global Outcomes 2020 guidelines. The basic principles of management of SRNS in both these guidelines remain the same, but wherever there have been differences, I have cited them separately. So this is very important. So steroid-resistant nephrotic syndrome, what do you mean by it? A patient has been diagnosed as nephrotic syndrome. You have put him on prednisolone therapy, 2 mg per kg per day. But at the end of 4 weeks, the patient is not able to achieve complete remission. In that case, you will label the patient as having steroid resistance. Or at the end of 4 weeks, patient has achieved some remission, मतलब partial remission achieve हो गया है, urine protein creatinine ratio is between 0.2 to 2, but complete remission has not yet been achieved. Then you can evaluate the patient at the end of 6 weeks. अब 6 weeks के बाद भी he continues to be in partial remission or in no remission, then also he will be labeled as steroid resistant nephrotic syndrome. Lekin if the patient at the end of 6 weeks has been able to achieve complete remission, this patient is referred to as a late responder. And secondary steroid resistant nephrotic syndrome is a patient who has achieved remission with steroids in less than 4 weeks, but once he relapsed after this, he was not able to achieve remission within 4 weeks. So this is referred to as a secondary resistance to steroid. Now the main drug which we use for management of steroid resistant nephrotic syndrome is calcineurin inhibitor. I'll discuss it later. Calcineurin inhibitor का भी response देख लेंगे if it is calcineurin responsive or it is resistant. So calcineurin inhibitor responsive steroid resistant nephrotic syndrome, if partial remission achieved at the end of 6 months or complete remission has been achieved at the end of 12 months. Calcineurin inhibitor drugs क्या हैं? They inhibit the enzyme calcineurin, which reduces the interleukin 2 production and interleukin 2 receptor expression, leading to reduction in T cell activation and promotes remission in nephrotic syndrome. There are 3 drugs in this. This is tacrolimus and cyclosporin, and then is pimecrolimus. But in nephrotic syndrome, we are using only tacrolimus and cyclosporin. In this CNI, you have to remember that we have to monitor the trough levels. Trough levels क्या होता है कि आपने पेशेंट को डोज दी तो ब्लड में उसका लेवल इंक्रीज हो जाएगा, बट आफ्टर सम टाइम the levels will come down due to metabolism and excretion, and finally they will achieve a certain baseline level which is referred to as trough level. This trough level is usually measured just before the administration of the dose, and it is basically this level which is important because यही level decide करेगा कि benefit होगा drug को या drug accumulate हो रहा है body में and it will lead to toxicity. And another important point about CNIs is that they are nephrotoxic. So even though we are giving for the treatment of a renal disease, we have to be very cautious because if the patient has renal dysfunction or renal failure, then the drugs start getting accumulated in the body and they produce toxicity. The other category is CNI resistant, मतलब 6 months, जैसे हमने स्टेरॉइड का रिस्पॉन्स इवेल्युएट किया है आफ्टर द एंड ऑफ 4 वीक्स, CNI का रिस्पॉन्स हम इवेल्युएट करते हैं एट द एंड ऑफ 6 मंथ्स. तो अगर पार्शियल या कंप्लीट रिमिशन हो जाता है तो इट्स रिस्पॉन्सिव, लेकिन अगर partial remission भी नहीं अचीव होता 6 months के एंड पे, then we call it as CNI resistant SRNS. And MDR SRNS क्या है? When there is lack of complete remission at the end of 12 months of therapy. एक तो ये बात है complete remission होना चाहिए, दूसरा 12 months of therapy के बाद होना चाहिए, दूसरा two mechanistically different drugs. Two mechanistically different drugs मतलब different mechanism of action वाले. For example, calcineurin inhibitors or rituximab. Rituximab is anti-CD20 drug, या calcineurin inhibitors and MMF. तो ये दो drugs मतलब दो categories of drugs जिनके mechanism of action different है. तो resistance क्यों होता है? It has been found that in around 10 to 30% of cases, there have been mutations in the podocyte-associated genes. You know, podocytes are food processes of the glomerulus, and these cases are referred to as genetic forms of steroid-resistant nephrotic syndrome. On the other hand, there are 70 to 90% cases of SRNS in which there is an undefined circulating factor of immune origin. Okay, and these are referred to as the non-genetic factors. तो वापस से समझ सकते हैं कि from the pathophysiology we can understand when there is a circulating factor of immune origin, तो इसके ट्रीटमेंट के लिए हम immunosuppressive drugs दे सकते हैं. लेकिन when the cause is genetic, this immunosuppressive drugs won't work. The only treatment which will work is stem cell transplantation, which has not yet been defined for nephrotic syndrome. Then there are certain histological types of SRNS. The most common is focal segmental glomerulosclerosis. Then minimal change disease also can be steroid resistant. This is very important for the postgraduates to know. And then there is a diffuse mesangial sclerosis, another histological subtype of SRNS. So initial workup के लिए we'll take a detailed family history of renal disease and consanguinity. Then we'll specifically look for extrarenal manifestations like skeletal examination and secondary causes, mainly infectious causes. Then investigations, will do all the routine investigations and screening for infections. But there are two important investigations which deserve a mention in management of SRNS, and these are genetic testing and renal biopsy. So genetic testing needs to be done in all children with primary SRNS, and not in patients with secondary steroid resistance. Priority is to be given to patients who have a positive family history, who have extrarenal features, or who are undergoing preparation for renal transplantation. In these patients, genetic testing is a must. कौन सी genes का analysis करना है? We have to do a comprehensive gene analysis panel. मतलब evaluate for all the currently known SRNS genes. And then we have to do the genetic counseling of patients and their families. Renal biopsy. This also has to be done in all patients of SRNS except for patients with secondary cause like known infection or malignancy, or patients जिसमें genetic cause prove हो गया है, उसमें we might not, it is not essential that we definitely do a renal biopsy. Renal biopsy helps us not only in the confirmation of the diagnosis, balki it also helps in the determination of certain prognostic histological markers like tubular atrophy, interstitial fibrosis, and glomerulosclerosis. All these have a poor prognosis. तो 4 वीक्स पे हमने इवेल्युएट किया, देखा कि पार्शियल रिमिशन है, कंप्लीट रिमिशन है या नो रिमिशन है. उसके बाद we'll continue to extend the steroid therapy for up to 6 weeks. This period from 4 to 6 weeks has been referred to as confirmation by the Indian Pediatric Nephrology Association guidelines published in the Indian Pediatrics Journal. In this, we continue with prednisolone, and we may or we may not give 3 pulse doses of methylprednisolone at the rate of 15 mg per kg. Along with that, we add a renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system inhibitor, that is RAS inhibitor. It can either be an ACE inhibitor or it can be an angiotensin receptor blocker. We also do a renal biopsy and genetic test meanwhile, जहाँ पे कहीं भी facility available है. But if the facility is not available, we need to start CNI directly at 6 weeks of steroid resistance. After the end of 6 weeks, if still there is no remission, we need to start CNI directly if facility is not available. If CNI is not available or patient is unaffordable, you can start IV oral cyclophosphamide. But remember, this is a very poor grade of recommendation. It is only grade D, and KDIGO does not mention it. If results suggest a genetic form of SRNS, matlab the immunosuppressive drugs are not going to act. In that case, we need to stop CNI, which is a strong immunosuppressive agent, and prednisolone also, which is again an immunosuppressant drug. So, after the end of 6 weeks, in non-genetic forms, we have 2 drugs, RAS inhibitors and CNI. RAS inhibitors, I told you, these are ACE inhibitors and ARBs. There are certain important points as a general pediatricians when we are going to start these drugs, we need to know some very important points. These are, we must aim for maximum improved dosages. जैसे कि for example, telmisartan अगर ले रहे हैं तो 20 mg, 40 mg, 60 mg, whatever the maximum dose the patient is able to tolerate, that we must give, because these drugs have a dose-dependent anti-proteinuric effect. Then we must use these drugs with caution in patients with CKD stage 4 or 5, because again they are nephrotoxic. they should be stopped in patients with intravascular volume depletion, AKI, or hyperkalemia. And we must ensure contraception if we are prescribing it to adolescent females because these drugs have teratogenic effects on the fetus. And we must use RAS inhibitors with non-renal metabolism, preferably like angiotensin receptor blockers like telmisartan, losartan, and ramipril. Similarly, cyclosporin or tacrolimus are the first-line immunosuppressive drugs, and they should not be used if the estimated GFR is less than 30 ml per minute per 1.73 meter square. If the patient has AKI or the patient has uncontrolled hypertension. Now coming on to outcomes. तो ये हमने देख लिया कि SRNS अगर नॉन जेनेटिक टाइप का है तो मोस्ट प्रेफरेबल ड्रग इज CNI, और इससे दो पॉसिबिलिटी है, या तो पेशेंट रिस्पॉन्ड करेगा या तो पेशेंट विल हैव रेजिस्टेंस. So if the patient is responding, then he can go into stable remission, or he can develop an infrequent kind of relapse, or he can depend a secondary steroid dependent nephrotic syndrome or secondary steroid sensitive nephrotic syndrome. Agar infrequent relapse hai, then how will we treat? We can again give CNI or MMF along with high dose prednisolone for 4 weeks to achieve remission, and then reduce the dose of the drugs to maintain the remission. If CNI resistance means there is failure to attain even partial remission at the end of 6 months of CNI treatment. Now coming on to the genetic forms. Genetic forms I have already explained. The treatment options are very limited. We cannot use immunosuppressive drugs. So the treatment is only conservative, RAS inhibitor, and some supportive measures, and we need to counsel the parents. Outcome is also generally not good. So we need to counsel the parents because more or less these patients will ultimately land into end-stage renal disease. The progress may vary with time. So the first line drugs we see, they are cyclosporin. The dose and duration has been mentioned, and we need to remember that we need to start this drug in patients who are at risk for diabetic complications. Since hyperglycemia is associated with tacrolimus, the other drug is tacrolimus, the dose and the trough levels have been given. Monitoring trough levels is very important to prevent toxicity with these drugs. This is to be preferably started in patients with concerns for cosmetic side effects, for example, adolescent girls, because gingival hyperplasia is associated with cyclosporin. So we know that actually there is not much difference in the efficacy of cyclosporin and tacrolimus. We just have to decide which drug to use depending on the side effect profile. So we need to monitor the trough levels at least once weekly until target levels are achieved, and then every 1 to 3 months along with serum creatinine. This is very important. A general pediatrician must know all this before starting toxic drugs like these. And then these drugs should be discontinued in whom even a partial response is not achieved at the end of 6 months. But in those who have achieved a partial or a complete response, treatment should be continued even though at reduced dosages for at least 12 months as given by the KDIGO. But IPNA mentions 12 to 24 months to reduce the risk of CNI-induced nephrotoxicity. And one must consider switch to MMF to minimize nephrotoxicity and continue to maintain a remission. Remember, this mycophenolate mofetil is a drug which helps usually in maintaining remission. Then certain indications for repeat renal biopsy in patients who are on CNI, like unexplained drop in estimated GFR, then prolonged CNI exposure, and restarting CNI treatment for a second course, for example, like infrequent relapse I had mentioned in the previous scene. Then there is steroids. We know that we have to continue with steroids, but in tapering dosages, and we have to taper and gradually stop them over 6 months. The method of tapering the steroids has been mentioned differently in the two guidelines. This is what has been mentioned in KDIGO, but the IPNA mentions the following regime for tapering of the steroids. Then the second and third line drugs are cyclophosphamide, which is not recommended, MMF, the dose given here, and rituximab. It is an anti-CD20 drug, and the mechanism of action is complete B cell depletion. We must rule out all infections before giving it. And if the patient has resistance or intolerance to rituximab, then in that case we have very few options left. These are monoclonal antibodies like ofatumumab and extracorporeal blood purification procedures, for example, plasma exchange, immunoadsorption, or lipid apheresis. Then IPNA, not KDIGO, but IPNA has given some specific recommendations for additional measures, and these are that excessive salt intake should be avoided, balanced fluid should be given, loop diuretics for severe edema, albumin infusion for refractory edema and symptomatic hypovolemia, and optimum protein intake. See, I have seen that many of the physicians and the residents, they are confused. They write low protein diet. This is not to be written. This is not to be advised because children are in the growing age. They do need some protein for muscle and bone mass. So the term used is optimum protein intake, at least 0.8 to 1 gram per kg per day, not more than that, not more than 1 gram per kg per day. Then for complication prevention, you can substitute immunoglobulins, but again this is a very poor grade D recommendation. Then antibiotic prophylaxis not routinely recommended, but cotramoxazole in patients with on rituximab, and preventive anticoagulation in patients with history of venous thromboembolic events and additional risk factors. Then dyslipidemia is to be treated only if there is persistent multi-drug resistant SRNS and persistently high fasting LDL cholesterol. Then calcium, if ionized or albumin corrected calcium is low, cholecalciferol or vitamin D is low, and magnesium for symptomatic hypomagnesemia, levothyroxine for hypothyroidism. They have given recommendations for dialysis and transplant also, but I haven't included them in this video. Then vaccinations should be complete, and especially against two kinds of organisms. First is the encapsulated bacteria. These are three: pneumococcal, then second is meningococcal, and third is Haemophilus influenzae, often asked in the viva and the students are not able to reply. And the second are the varicella zoster virus. But live vaccines cannot be given in patients on daily immunosuppressive therapy. And if suppose the patient has accidentally got exposed to varicella, then in that case VZIG should be given if the patient has not been adequately immunized. And if that is not available, then at least a course of peroral acyclovir needs to be given for 7 days in these patients who are immunosuppressed. So to summarize, we must remember two time points. First is end of 4 weeks of steroid therapy, and second is between 4 to 6 weeks of steroid therapy. तो end of 4 weeks पे अगर remission achieve नहीं हुआ है, then we label the patient as having steroid resistant nephrotic syndrome. In that case, we must continue prednisolone. We can or we may not give methylprednisolone doses, but the important thing is that we add RAS inhibitor here. And meanwhile, we go for three things. First is the genetic testing, the renal biopsy, and third is that we must rule out the secondary causes. Indications and all I've already mentioned in the video earlier. Now, जब results हमारे पास आ गए हैं, there can be two possibilities. Either it is a genetic form of SRNS or it is a non-genetic form of SRNS. If it is a genetic form, then we must stop prednisolone because it is an immunosuppressive, it won't work. Continue RAS inhibitors and do genetic counseling of the parents and the patient. But if it is a non-genetic kind of SRNS, then we must add CNI, continue RAS and taper prednisolone. So in this case, now once we have added this calcineurin inhibitor, the next time point we need to remember is the end of 6 months of CNI therapy. So if at the end of 6 months of CNI therapy, the patient has achieved complete remission or the patient has achieved partial remission. Usually 50 to 70% of non-genetic forms will achieve either complete or partial remission. So if the patient has achieved complete remission, then we must minimize the CNI dose but continue it for a total duration of 12 to 24 months as per IPNA and 12 months as per KDIGO, or switch to MMF because it is a good drug for maintaining remission. If the patient is in partial remission, but however, in that case, we must continue CNI at the same doses, that is initial dose. We must not minimize the dose of CNI. Another possibility is that even at the end of 6 months, the patient has not achieved any kind of remission. In that case, the patient is referred to as CNI resistant SRNS. In that case, we must stop CNI, consider rituximab or enroll in a clinical trial. not much of benefit. Matlab, like we can use experimental therapies, but if there is no remission even after this, then the patient is referred to as having multi-drug resistant SRMS. In that case, we may consider ofatumumab or plasma exchange or immunosorption or lipid apheresis. So basically, we have to remember four important time points. First is the end of 1 month or 4 weeks of steroid therapy, in which we have to see for response to steroids. Then end of between 1 to 1.5 months or 4 to 6 weeks, that in which we have to confirm whether or not steroid resistance is actually there and rule out matlab do genetic testing, renal biopsy, etc. Then at the end of 6 months of CNI therapy, in which we have to look for response to CNI, and between 12 to 24 months of CNI therapy, we need to stop CNI to avoid nephrotoxicity, either switch over to MMF or completely stop it. So I guess I was clear in this. Thank you so much and have a very good day.